Every Friday we recite the sharing of merit verses. I remember nearly 1 year ago I have explained the real significance of this sharing of merit. I think there are many more newcomers. Better to give a clear introduction of this sharing of merits, transference of merits, radiations of loving kindness. There are different methods, not the same method. And why is it necessary for us to do this? What do we gain by doing that? What can we do for others by reciting this? Punyanumo, page 211. Punyanumodana. Punya Anumodana. Anumodana we can interpret either as transference of merits or inviting others to share the merits. Either one. Both are here. Punya. I have explained the meaning of this word. What is punya? What is the English word for that? What is punya? Yes, only one word for that in English. But these Pali words are very meaningful. So we can give the definition of this word, the roots of this word. Pali, Sanskrit, these words are like this. Punya. When we say merit, we gain the meaning of that word very loosely, not very clear expositions of the word. Now what is the definition? Chittam punatiti punya. Now this is the definition of this word. Chitta means mind. Punati, please, or gain happiness. So whatever actions that we perform with happiness and understanding, with good intention, that action is called punya. So English word is merit. Then there is another word, the opposite, papa. What is the meaning of papa? We can say demerit. Papa means whatever action we do with bad intention, which create the bad effect for us to fall down. That is called papa, bad karma. Punya and papa, these are the two words. So, we can do a lot of good deeds without happiness or devotion or confidence or understanding. But we won't be able to experience the full result, effect. There must be some disturbances. The most important thing is happiness and confidence. So whenever you do any kinds of religious work, services. These two good qualities must be there in your mind. Happiness and confidence. If understanding is there, so much the better. Then you can develop more devotions and confidence to create some inspiration in your mind. Now, here Punya Anumodana. Now we are going to transfer the merits or to invite others to share the merits that we gain by performing such Punya Kamma, meritorious deeds. Just now I told you there are three ways. First thing is sharing of merits. This we cannot do with departed one, only with living beings, those who live. We invite them, we inform them, or we announce. Today we have done this kind of meritorious deeds, good deeds, or we have done some service to others to release their sufferings or problems or worries or disturbances. Then all those who appreciate that action, encourage, then they also share the merits. They must appreciate, otherwise they cannot share the merits. Now you go and tell others, either your family members or your friends or your relatives, today I have attended a Buddhist talk. I learned many things. Now my understanding about the Dhamma is clear. I know what is right and what is wrong. It is a meritorious deed. When others say, oh, very good, we are very happy to know that you gained this knowledge, then they also share the merit. If they say, there is nothing, why not you go to cinema or nightclub and enjoy your life, wasting your time in the temple, then they discourage you. They cannot share the merits. So these merits we can share with human beings and Deva and certain spirit. Three groups: humans, Devas and some spirit. But we cannot share these merits with animals because they do not know how to share the merits. They know how to share our food, that's all. We cannot share this merit with ghosts and devils because they do not know how to appreciate. We cannot share this merit with those who are suffering in hell. They are unfortunate. So humans, Devas and one particular group of spirits can share this merit. Then transference of merits. We cannot transfer the merits to human beings. We cannot transfer the merits to animals. We cannot transfer the merits to those who are in hell or very unfortunate state of ghost forms. We can transfer this merit those who need, those who are waiting to receive the merit. Because they haven't got enough karma, either good karma or bad karma. Those who suffer, they have more than enough bad karmas. Those who enjoy their life, they have enough good karma, as human beings or as devas. So in between, there are many who have not accumulated enough either good karma or bad karma. They are the ones who need, who are waiting to receive the merit. Then what will happen? When we transfer the merit, our mental vibration as well as our sound vibration, we think and we recite something by doing something. They catch these mental vibrations and sound vibrations. Because their minds are very sensitive, not like others. That sensitivity in their mind very easily can catch the mental vibration. Then the happiness that they gain through this transference of merits support them to have a better rebirth, to get rid of that miserable state and to have a better rebirth. Of course, that cannot be very fortunate ones, since they haven't got enough good karma. But they can get rid of this unfortunate state. From there onward, they have to continue by doing more and more good karma. That is the meaning of transference of merit. Then the other one is radiation. We can radiate our metta, our loving kindness, our compassion, our sympathy towards other living beings. This we can do to any living being, whether they are good or bad, fortunate or unfortunate, whether they are humans or animals or devas or spirit or ghosts or devils, make no difference. Radiations of metta towards every living being. This you can understand when you read Metta Sutta, how the Buddha has explained. Even known and unknown, seen or unseen, visible or invisible, born or unborn, in the process of developing their life. Bhutava sambhavesiva sabbe satta bhavantu sukhitatta. So we go on radiating our metta towards all these living beings. And when we create such thoughts and recite some word to radiate, we create some sort of atmosphere, very soothing atmosphere around that area. Then the disturbances that come from external evil forces also clear out because of these radiations of loving kindness. There are many stories during the Buddha's time. Certain monks who have gone to jungles and certain isolated places or cemeteries for their meditation. When the disturbances come from the spirit or from the ghost, or from devas, or earthbound devas. They could not concentrate or meditate. They had to return to the temple or the monastery and reported to the Buddha. Then the Buddha said, you can go back to the same place. You can continue your meditation. But before you start your meditation, you have to radiate your metta, your compassion towards all those visible or invisible living beings around that area, whether they are devas or spirit or ghosts or devils or animals. Even fierce animals in the jungle, they do not disturb or attack those meditators, because every day they go on radiating and radiating this loving kindness. I think some times ago I have told you very interesting Jataka story. I don't think you can remember it. A king who was very righteous, very honest, very kind, who ruled his country without any discrimination towards anybody, very unbiased. So he wanted to know whether there is anybody in this kingdom who cannot satisfy with his way of ruling this country. He discussed with many people. Everybody says yes. All are happy, satisfied. But he thinks that they don't like to tell the truth in front of him, just because he is the ruler. He really wanted to find out whether there is anybody who complains or who grumbles about his way of ruling this country. So he went out by disguising as an ordinary man. So on the way, he has seen a man who was sitting under a tree. He went to this man and he had a talk with him. Then the king asked, what are you doing here under this tree? And he told him, I have been practicing meditation under this tree for a long time. And what is your meditation? He said, only radiating my metta, my loving kindness towards every living being and living things. What do you gain by doing this? He said, I can show you a very good example. The tree under which he was meditating, it's a well-known tree. The fruits of this tree is very bitter. Everybody knows this. So he gave some of these fruits from the same tree for this man to eat. He said, how can I eat this? This is bitter. Then the meditator said, you better eat and see. Then he found out this is very sweet, very strange. Then the meditator says, this is the good result. Even bitter things also become sweet. When we radiate our metta and loving kindness. Then he said, there are two reasons for this. Every day I sit down here and radiate my mental waves, mental vibration, change the atmosphere, Bad thing turn towards good. Bitter things become sweet. Second reason, the ruler of this country, he doesn't know that this is the ruler. The ruler of this country is a wonderful man. He is very righteous, very religious, very honest, very kind-hearted ruler. His virtues, his good principles, good qualities also created a very good atmosphere within this kingdom. These are the two reasons why even the bitter things become very sweet. Then the king satisfied. But he did not introduce himself as the ruler, he came back. So what we have to learn from this is this. Not only plant life or animals or spirits or devas, our enemies who are very angry with us, who want to harm us, if we really radiate our loving kindness towards our enemy, slowly, slowly he changes his mind. Practice and see how effective it is. Without hating him, we must radiate our metta and compassion towards him. Modern scientific discoveries regarding this, I have read many articles in various magazines. Those who really wanted to test, after planting some trees, either fruits or flowers, every morning they go and pour water and fertilizer, and for one particular plant they hate, radiate hatred, hostility, curse. But the other plant, I love you, I like you, I want you to grow as soon as possible. I want to see the flowers and the fruits and so on. And the other one, I hate you, I don't like you, but every day pour water and give same fertilizer. And they have seen the result. How mental energy, mental vibration can change even plant life. Vast difference between these two. So this human mind or mental energy is very, very strong force. This mind we can direct either to ruin or destroy others, or to support and release others, to change others' mind. Recently, in Russia, without using any religion or name of any god or spirit, they have developed the mind reading. One person in Moscow, the other person in Leningrad. It's very far. Then they exchange their mental waves, messages. After that they found out what they have recorded according to their messages without uttering even one word. Correct. Mind reading. they can develop this mind even without depending on any religion. Psychic power. In India, even before the Buddhas coming to this world, there were many who have developed this psychic power to read others' mind, to understand many things which we cannot understand. It's a pure, the mental development. Now what is happening today? Why it is difficult for us to develop our human mind? There are thousands and one things in our mind which bother, which disturb, which create confusion or unsatisfaction, disturbances. Therefore, it is very difficult for us to develop our mental energy. It is polluted. That polluted mind, we cannot divert to do such supernormal or supernatural, or to gain some sort of psychic power or mental energy. But we are wasting our mental energy for unnecessary things. We are unhappy, we are not satisfied with our life, with our families, with our income, with our pleasure. These are the things always disturb the mind. But those who really want to develop their mind, they try to get rid of all these external burdens and commitment and responsibility. Then pure mental energy they can develop and develop and develop. We take the whole world into our mind. We want to know everything what is happening in this world. But we do not know what is in our mind. But we know everything in this world. We do not know the nature of our own mind, but wasting our mental energy. So, just now I explained, transference of merit, sharing of merit, and radiations of metta, compassion and sympathy towards every living being or even plant life. Now when we want to make vow, this is a very common practice. Also existed before Buddhism come into existence. According to their own experience, you know that well-known story, Sujata, Lady Sujata who offered milk rice to the Buddha before his enlightenment. Why she wanted to offer milk rice? This lady was a very rich lady. After her marriage, for many years, she was longing a baby, but no offspring. Then some people advised her, why not you go to that particular banyan tree? You know banyan tree, isn't it? The roots come from the tree, also just like Bodhi tree. Many previous Buddhas gained enlightenment under the banyan tree. And the next Buddha, Maitreya Buddha, also gained his enlightenment under the banyan tree, not under the Bodhi tree. Bodhi tree had no place when Maitreya Buddha came into existence. Only banyan tree. But banyan tree became Bodhi tree, because the Bodhi tree is the name given to this particular tree after gaining enlightenment. Otherwise, Bodhi is not the name of this tree. Otherwise, it is called Pipal tree. So, Why not you go and make a vow? There is a powerful Deva. Here Deva means earthbound, not heavenly Deva. Earthbound Devas. In English, usually we say a spirit, good spirit, very fortunate spirits. So she accepted this advice, went to this particular tree and made a vow that she needs a baby and she will do some offering if her wish fulfilled. So after some time she had a beautiful baby. So she wanted to prepare nice milk rice to offer to this particular Deva. So while she was preparing this milk rice, she asked a servant to go and clean around the tree. When she approached, there she saw somebody sitting under the tree. And she doesn't know who this person is. He thought the Deva has come down from the tree when you smell that he is preparing very nice milk rice and he is waiting now. She came and told Sujata, your Deva has come down from the tree and waiting for your milk rice. So she was so happy and immediately she prepared the milk rice and went to that place. Yes, certainly. So he went and offered. He doesn't know who this person is. The Buddha, not yet attained Buddhahood, after suffering for 6 years, self-mortification, self-torturing, he realized that this method is not the correct method for gaining enlightenment. So he had no proper food for 6 years and no proper shelter, no proper sleep, no rest. Because he was taught by other religious teachers, the more you torture your physical body, the more easily you can gain purity and wisdom and enlightenment. He practiced, but he realized this should not be the correct method. So he changed. On that day he was sitting under this tree thinking what to eat. At that time this Sujata, this lady, offered milk rice. So he had very nice, rich food after 6 years of his renunciation. Here, even before Buddhism come into existence, people had this belief. Today, how many people visit various trees, various holy places, places of worship, go and make vow? It is not against Buddhism, but the Buddha's advice is this. Bahumve saranang yanti pabbhatani vananicha arama rukkha chetyani manussa bhayatajjita. When human beings have fear or suspicion, or when they need some worldly thing, usually they visit various places, rocks, hills, mountains, trees, and make vow or worship or do some offering. So they gain what they want. But Buddhism is not for that purpose. Because there are many other ways also for them to gain what they need. Netang ko saranang khemang netang saranamuttama. That is not the correct way of taking refuge for you to get rid of your worldly suffering. You gain something, some worldly material things just to satisfy your craving. But all your worldly sufferings still remain. So if you want to get rid of your worldly sufferings, then you have to realize Four Noble Truths. You must understand Eight Noble Paths. You must lead a noble life, and this is the correct path. So making vows and doing some offerings and worshipping, you cannot gain this. But certain worldly thing, immediate relief, you experience through these practices. Then, making vows means we express certain grievances or our needs, our problems in front of invisible Devas. Devas can catch our mental vibration. Before our sound vibration reaches them, they catch the mental vibration. When we think, the mental vibration already is spread, the whole universe. They catch this mental vibration. The sensitivity of their mind is such. That is why we regard Devas as fortunate in that sense. They can catch or read others' mind, what they think, what they need. Only that much. But they are not very intelligent. They have that power, just like radar system, to catch certain things in the space. There are many all over the world who have experienced, who gained what they need by making such vows or religious services. And they also invite the Devas to share the merits, to make them happy. Our minds are very weak, very, very weak. Always we have fear, suspicion. These two things disturb our whole life. Like small children. Small children are scared of so many things because they cannot understand, very weak. Then their understanding, their intelligence not yet developed. In our case, although our mind is matured, developed, but suspicion and fear interrupt our thinking. Then that suspicion creates a lot of superstitious idea, belief. Anybody who comes to this temple or visit any other temple about their sicknesses, family problems, misunderstanding between husband and wife, or parents and children, at once they suspect either charm or black magic or evil spirit. This idea at once they create in their mind because of that suspicion. If there is no suspicion, that idea never appears. Now take for instance Albert Einstein, H.G. Wells, Bertrand Russell, Julius Huxley. Let us take these well-known scientists, philosophers and great thinkers. Such ideas, such suspicion or superstitious ideas never appear in their mind, because their understanding about worldly things, what is happening in this world, is very deep, very advanced. Again, when we come to the Buddhas, Arahantas, even Sotapanna, Sakadagami, Anagami, Arahanta, who have attained these higher stages of sainthood, their minds are also free from these suspicions and fear. And we always maintain this because there are a lot of rubbish in our mind. We cannot get clear understanding. When some ideas appear in our mind, we mix up these ideas with so many superstitious beliefs.
No joy, no suffering, no happiness, no sadness, nothing. It was all done, all suppressed already. You see that? All gone with all the human feeling, the emotion stuff. As you go along the stages of jhana, they all suppressed. Even the first stage of jhana, I say, when you're still making the effort, then you maintain. The calmness arises already, the first stage. That's why they call it tranquility, because the calmness arises already. Very calm. And this calmness in jhana is not the same as the calmness in mindfulness meditation. It has strong kind of calmness. And when this calmness arises, it will suppress the feeling and emotion. The feeling and emotion cannot. Initially, the joy will arise. You still have joy and pity when you first start. But these will also be suppressed as you go along up the later stage. That's why you see in the second stage, in the initial effort, then the maintenance, the calmness and the joy. Then as you go up, you'll find that the joy also gone already, the pity also gone, the joy also gone already. But the third jhana already gone. The third jhana still maintains the joy. By the time the fourth one, all suppressed down. As you suppress also, at the same time, the energy builds up. When you do some samatha, the energy builds up. So you know why? Because of concentration, because your mind is so concentrated at one point that none of your energy is being dispersed. They are all in, all concentrate in, and you bring to one point. So all your energy, instead of like you every day, all the energy dispersed, you do all kinds of things. This one no. You concentrate within, and you make it into a strong force, then it will arise within you, concentration. Concentration, energy inside becomes very strong, and concentration tends to increase the energy force within you and raise the energy level in you, so it becomes so strong force in you. You have strong energy, the whole energy is within you. So you have strong force energy within you. This strong force energy arises and help to burn the defilement within it. Destroy the defilement from within. Initially suppressed only, initially when you do say a first or second jhana, or when your samatha is not strong yet, even when you do first, second, third, not strong yet, not established yet, you don't have this force so strong. As you gradually, as you go along, it balances out. And this force burns, start to burn within. That's why the defilement burn fast, when you do it, it burn fast. Initially suppressed, then burn. The heat inside. Then eventually you find the calmness so strong. Then you find the stillness very strong. Very, very strong. Nothing like you ever know in mindfulness, nothing else. Everything inside is very, very strong. Concentrated. Be concentrated means very strong already, like not dispersed or anything else. Build up, very strong. So whatever you feel inside, it's very force already. It becomes a force. That's why when the cultivation of power, the samadhi gives it that force. For the 5 faculties become the 5 powers, the samadhi gives it that force. When you start the samatha meditation, you give it that force. You know, it build up force within you, power force, the energy within you, it gives that force. It is quite hard, for the 5 faculties to become power. Samadhi is on turn, and only the first 4 factors of the first 4 jhana only that need all these factors. Later on, the other 4 jhanas you don't have already. You only have equanimity and one continuous samadhi. So only when you first start the 4 jhana, you have to make initial effort, suffering, effort, and maintain. Then you have to calm, the joy, and all this. Initially, the first 4 jhana, and up to 4th only all end. First jhana you have all the factors completed. Second jhana is first one, then the second one, the third one goes up to the 4th jhana. And all factors only the one continuous equanimity. And when you continue with the formulas, the level 5, 6, 7, 8, the formulas, when you go to the formulas rank, only maintain the equanimity and one continuous only. No others already. By then, if everything's gone, no more already. Just like Nancy was saying, you feel very light already. If you don't really feel the body already, you don't feel anything already. Then you go to the formulas rank, the form level no more already. So when you do it, you don't feel anything. You don't need the mind only, no more form really. When you do form jhana and the formless jhana, it's not the same. Initially when you start, you still have these factors and you have to go, as you go along, you start with all these factors up to 4th jhana. 4th jhana, when you come to equanimity stage already, you feel free already. You really feel free when all this comes to an end. The feelings come to an end, the calmness also comes to an end. You don't feel anything, the calmness also comes to an end. The pity comes and the joy all comes to an end. Everything comes to an end. It's only when all things come to an end, like no feelings can arise, no joy, no happiness, no sadness, all come to an end. You come to that stage and then you feel free. You see that when you still have all the feelings, you don't feel free, you still trouble.
They say it's like nirvana.
It is like nirvana. It is like,
They say it's like nirvana.
it is, the jhana are like nirvana. It is that which gives to nirvana after all, no way. Because it takes care of all the defilement. It gets rid of all the defilement, it purifies you and gives you the state that leads to nirvana. It is why even the Buddha himself said that Arahant is pursued up to 4th jhana. It is the 4th jhana which is the cessation state, that all comes to an end. All feelings, all emotions all come to an end, won't arise again. Come really, out really. Then only you get the stillness stage, nothing, you don't feel anything at all. So you can feel light again and your mind can be free because nothing arises anymore. And in that state of jhana, you can say like you feel like nirvana. Because of no more disturbance already from your feeling, from the thinking, from anything, no more already. Nothing, then you feel free. At this stage, before cessation, then only you feel free. So long as you have emotions, feelings, you have troubles within you arising, it's like a sea of storm arising within you. See all the feelings arising, there's troubles. See a sea of storm churning within you. Then when you come to the 4th jhana, all no more already. Then you feel nothing already. You are free. Understand? Cessation state, you feel free. Sometimes breathing is very fine, you may go very easy, you're not breathing no more, like feel like no more. You can see the state. And that stage is maybe you can compare it to the nirvana. The early stages not yet because you're still trying to go up to that. And you feel, so long as you have anything in you, it's like still having a burden.
Gain clear understanding. Otherwise forever we had to suffer from this suspicion and fear and wasting money also. Some people who have visited this temple told us, so far they have spent more than $30,000 to $40,000 or $50,000. They say this is due to charm, or this is due to black magic. Charge only $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, $1,000, different temples, different places. Because when they come to know they are in fear, this is a very good opportunity for them. They take the advantage of this to make money. But their problems are still there. So your knowledge, your understanding of the Dhamma support you to know things properly without creating such superstitious ideas or suspicion. There will be another program after this. This Tunku Abdul Rahman College students, there were about 60 students are here. So they are waiting to start their programs. So just now I promised to explain. I don't know what happened to me. Anyways, let us start at least few. First, number one. You know how to recite this. Imina punya kammena upajjaya gunuttara acari upakaraca Mata pita piya mamang Now this is for sharing of merit, not transference of merit. See the meaning? May my virtuous teachers, helpful guardians, my dear mother and father, share the merits accrued by this meritorious deed. So every time when you do some meritorious deed, remember them. Whether they are in front of you or far away, remember them. Invite them to share the merit that you gain. By doing that, you show your gratitude towards them for what they have done for you. Your teachers, your guardians, your father, your mother, in appreciations of their services. And because this is the highest service that you can render towards them. In fact, in Sigalovada Sutta, the Buddha, children's duties towards their parents. Well, it is not very difficult to look after them, to support them, to minister them, assist them, feed them, or cleaning, washing, bathing, everything you can do. But the Buddha says, the highest service that you can render towards your father and mother is this. If you can enlighten them to get rid of the bad thing that they are doing, wrong belief, wrong idea that they maintain as truth or fact, that is the highest service for your father and mother. Because many of our elders still maintain a lot of superstitious ideas. And all our parents are not good ones. Some are very cruel, some are very jealous, some are very wicked, some are useless. But if you can guide them, if you can pave the way for them, that is the highest service, the Buddha says. Here, by inviting them to share the merit is one way, at least to make them happy. So now we can see how useful and meaningful this recitals. It does not mean that you go and recite this in front of your father and mother. You have to tell them what you have done, all the good deeds, by using a language that they can understand. Next one. Suriyo Chandi Maharaja Gunavanta Narapicha Brahma Maharaja Indacha Lokapalacha Devata Surya and Chandima kings the devas of sun and moon, all virtuous humans, Brahma, Devas, Maras and Indras, Tavatimsa Devas. The world protecting Devas share this merit. Now another aspect. After inviting our relatives or teachers or parents, now we are trying to invite so-called supernatural living beings such as Surya and Chandima. Surya means sun, Chandima means moon. I think still there are many people who worship and do some offering to the sun and the moon. It is not useless. Don't say it is ridiculous or meaningless. We exist here in this world because of sun and the moon. Otherwise life cannot exist. Those days people never knew anything about Creator God or the Buddhas or any other supernatural living being. They knew only about the sun and the moon. They knew these two things are responsible for our living, for our existence. So out of gratitude, they worship. They did some offerings in the name of sun and the moon, and they regarded them as devas, as supernatural living beings. Their knowledge about the sun and the moon was very poor, but they regarded them as devas. Here, out of gratitude, whether they are devas or not, whether they are mere planets or not, they invite Deva, these Surya Deva and Chandima Deva, to share the merits that we have accrued out of gratitude. What harm is there? Then the virtuous humans, why they use the word virtuous humans? Many human beings cannot appreciate, cannot understand, cannot encourage, not ready to share the merits. Only those who can understand the real value of meritorious deeds, you can invite and they share. They too gain. There is another misunderstanding. Some people ask, after gaining some merit, when we share with others, when we transfer this merit to others, we lose. At least 50%. See, lack of understanding. But they never knew transference of merit is another meritorious deed. So when we transfer the merit, when we invite others to share the merit, we increase few degrees of our own merit. Remember that. Brahma, Deva, Maras, Indra. Brahma is the creator God, according to all the existing Indian religions, few thousand years ago. Brahma. The word God never existed at that time. Brahmati Mata Pitaro. Regard your father and mother as God. Brahma. They are the living God at home. Your father and mother. Regard them as Brahma or God. In the Buddha's teaching, as well as in many other religions. So we invite the Brahma also to share the merit. Then Devas. There are various forms of Devas. What is the meaning of this word Deva? Deva means luminous, bright. So whenever a Deva is there at night time, not necessary to use electricity. Evam mesutan ekang samayang bhagava savathyang viharati jetvane anatha pindikassa arame atako anyatara devata abhikkantaya rattiya abhikkanta vanna kevala kappang jetvanan obhasitva. Jetavana monastery, Jetavana obhasitva, illuminating the whole Jetavana monastery where the Buddha lived. At midnight, certain devas appeared. Here, deva means brightness or luminous. So we share the merit with devas. To them it is important. Why? Very seldom they think of performing meritorious. All the while they go on enjoying worldly pleasure, amusement, entertainment, enjoyment, by spending the merit that they have accrued when they were human beings. So they enjoy their life as long as the merits remain. When these merits were extinguished, evaporated, there is no guarantee about their destiny. That is the problem with Deva's life. That is why the Buddha did not encourage people to be born there, to spend their lives, because there means to an end. One day there will be an end to that pleasurable life. As human beings, we know how to think. While spending all the merit that we have gained, we are also going on accumulating, performing more and more merit for future. But other living beings have no such idea. That is why we invite the Devas to share the merits. Mara. Mara is a very controversial word. But there are 5 kinds of Mara. Devaputto, Kilesocha, Abhisankhara, Marako, Khandamaro, Machumaro. 5. This word Mara used in 5 places for 5 purposes. Devaputta Mara. Here, a Deva who is living in the highest Deva realm, Chatum Maharajika, Tavatinsa, Yama, Tusita, Nimmanarati, Paranimmita Vasavati, highest one, top one. So Devaputta Mara is living in that particular Deva realm. He is not a very good Deva. He is wicked, he is jealous, he is greedy, but very powerful. This is the nature of this Mara. He doesn't like religious people or good people. He is wicked by nature. This is one. Second Mara is Kilesa Mara. We have our own Mara in our mind. We act as Maras when this Mara come out. When we get angry, we act as Mara, as devil. When we are jealous, when we become very cruel, we act like devil or Mara. So all these Maras are hiding here in our mind. Now they are quiet. But when we irritate them, agitate or provoke them, you can see the real Mara is acting here in our mind. This is another meaning of Mara. Devaputto kilesoti. Abhisankhar. We create very dangerous, very harmful thoughts in our mind due to our habits, our nature. By nature we are very bad, not good. We have no sympathy or kindness or compassion or anything. There are many human beings. Sometimes animals also maintain some sort of understanding. This you can see, cats and dogs, when they play, they come and bite, but just touch. They don't use force to hurt us. Cats and dogs just catch their teeth, never hurt us, because they can understand that it is wrong. But there are some human beings who cannot understand even this one. They are worse than animals. So, by nature we have certain bad, cruel, wicked, harmful, dangerous habits. Also Mara, regarded as Mara. Devaputto kilesocha abhisankhara maro. Khanda maro. Pancha khanda. 5 aggregates. When these 5 aggregates combine together as component things, elements and energies, mental energies, categorized into five groups. These elements and energies create enormous troubles and pains and disturbances and suffering. They play havoc. We are suffering throughout our life because of the combinations of these elements and energies. When we develop craving and attachment toward these elements and energies, we aggravate the situation. Why? When the thing goes against our wish, our will, we feel very unhappy, we cannot satisfy, we get angry, we get unsatisfactoriness, frustration. This is the result of combinations of these 5 aggregates, also Mara. And another meaning, Machu Mara. Death is called Mara. Why it is called Mara? Death is very unpleasant. We take as miserable, painful, which creates fear. Therefore, death is regarded as Mara. So in the Buddhist literature, the word Mara used for 5 purposes. Here we are inviting to share our merit with our good friends there. In that particular Deva realm, who is wicked but we do our duty. Just now I told you, if you can radiate our kindness towards our enemies, they change their mind. Slowly, slowly they change their mind. When they come to know that you are not cruel, you are not wicked, you are not dangerous, you are not planning to harm him, then he changed his mind. Then Indra. This word Indra is very ancient names in India for Sakra. The word Sakra appeared later. In the Buddhist literature, always use the word Sakra. But in other Indian Sanskrit literature, Hindu philosophy, they use the word Indra, not Sakra, but the same person. Sakra is Sakko Purindado Deva Raja Vajirapanicha. Tava things. One particular Devalok. He is not the ruler or the king of the whole Deva realm. Only one particular realm, Sakra. Who is this Sakra? During his previous birth, he was a human being. He had 33 friends. Whole day and night, they work for the benefit of others, welfare work, supporting poor people, making roads and providing toilets and digging wells for them to take water. Whole life they have dedicated to support poor people. So after their death, because of all these good deeds, services that they have rendered for the benefit of others, welfare of others, they were born in this particular Devalok. And their leader's name is Magha at that time, as human being. And this Magha became the Sakra, the ruler of that particular Devalok. So we invite Sakra also to come and share the merits. Again, so one day, Sakra was paying respect like this. Then his friends asked, "You are the ruler of this particular Devalok. To whom are you paying respect or worshipping?" The Sakra said, "I respect those human beings who lead a righteous life, who fulfill their duties and responsibilities towards others, their families, their husband, their wife, their parents, their children, who earn their living without bluffing, swindling, cheating and harming others, who lead a respectable life. I pay my respect to them." Remember, the king of the Devas also respect human beings who lead a noble life, respectable life. So we invite Sakra also to share the merits. Then here Tavatingsa. Tavatingsa means 33. All those 33 people who were born in that particular Brahmanal, name is given as Tavatingsa. The world protecting Devas. World protecting Devas. 4 guardian God, Devas. Dhritarashtra, Virudha, Virupaksha, Vaisara. Their names. 4 corners, there are 4 guardian devas who look after this world. In other words, who keep an eye on, watch. They haven't got very much power to change the world, but they can record what we are doing here. These 4 guardian devas. So we invite them. It is very important, because they know everything what we do, all our good and bad things. If you have a bad record, then you can see, you know, every day I remember you, I invited you to share the merit. So, but this is very, what you call, ancient belief. Many of those existing beliefs in India, Buddhism also accommodated. You understand? Otherwise, all these things are not taught by the Buddha. The Buddha taught us to be good and do some service to others, have a pure mind, and this is the Buddha's teaching. But many things we have incorporated into Buddhism, now introducing as Buddhism, certain belief that people had thousands of years in India. In other countries also the same thing. When you study other religions, their holy book, existing things believed in that particular country, they have recorded in their holy books and introduced as their religion. So, Suryo, Chandima, Raja, Gunavanta, Narabija, Brahma, Maharaja, Indraja, Lokapalaja, Devatas who keep an eye on this worldly thing. In the end, you can include that name also into the same list. Yamo Mitta Manussaja, Yama, because his name is mentioned in the end. Yama is the name of the ruler of hell. In hell also there is a ruler, a king of the hell. So we do not forget him also. So we invite him to share the merits. His duty is to punish others, torture others. According to traditional belief, his duty is to torture and punish all those who go to hell. But we invite him also to share the merit. This is the Buddhist attitude. That is why I told you, we always remember those wicked people, cruel people, our enemies also. We radiate our kindness toward them, we never hate them, we never curse them. Then we purify our mind by doing that. We become very unbiased and maintain some sort of purity in our mind. I think better to stop here, because these students want to start their program. They invited me also to attend. So only 2 stanzas they explain. There are many things, when you discuss, many more ideas. So remember, next Friday, tomorrow early morning I have to go to Singapore. Then Saturday and Sunday in Singapore, Monday come back. Okay, as usual, let us recite again. Imina punya kammena उपाध्याया गुणोत्तरा आचार्योपकारा च माता पिता प्रिया मम सूर्यो चांदी महाराजा गुणवन्ता नरापि च ब्रह्मा महाराज इंद्रा च लोकपाला च देवता यमो मित्ता मनुष्या च मध्यस्था वेरितापि च सर्वे सत्ता सुखी हन्तु पुण्यानि प्रकृतानि मे सुखं च त्रिविधं वेन्तु क्षिप्तं पापेभ्यो मृतम् इमिना पुण्यकामेन इमिना उद्दिशेन च क्षिप्ताहं सुलभे चैव तन्नुपादानच्छेदनम् ये सन्ताने हीना धम्मा यावनिर्वाणतो मम नश्यन्तु सर्वदा एव यत्र जातो भवे भवे उजुदितो सतिपन्यो सल्लेखो विरियवामिना मारालभन्तु नो कासं पातुञ्च विरियेषु मे बुद्धादिपवरो नाथो धम्मो नाथो अरुत्तमो नाथो पश्येत सम्बुद्धो संगो नाथोत्तरो मम तेजोत्तमानुभावेन मारोपा संलभन्तु माम्